Welcome to the Fantasy Flex Week 16 Waiver Podcast presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. Samantha Previte from the Action Network will be joining us in a bit to talk waivers. But first, Sean Koerner is here. We're going to preview the Monday night Showdown slate, and then we'll also spend a little time on the Tuesday slate since that's a two-game slate. So we'll talk both of those slates, and then we'll get into waivers. So, Sean, how's it going? What a wild week. I mean, I feel like nobody scored fantasy points this week.
Yeah, I mean, like I said last week, I feel like I was updating projections every minute. Every minute there was something happening, and we did all those updates, read all that news for nothing to happen on Sunday. So it was a bummer, but I went 6-3. I got back on track with my props, went 2-0 on my spreads and totals. I accidentally submitted Jeff Wilson under 1.5 receptions twice. And sure enough, he caught some like bullshit pass at the end of the game. So that went over. But other than that, like good week overall. I think I did good on Fantasy Pros. But like you said, it was just a really, really bad week for fantasy. And it's one of those weeks where hopefully if, you were number 1 or number 2 seed that you got to buy this week and you have to play. Because I saw a lot of the people that had really good teams lost this week because it was like almost all the scrubs went off. So a lot of randomness. So hopefully you were in a league where if you did good this year, you had a bye week and didn't have to play this week. And things should get better this week, hopefully.
Yeah, unless you're one of those people, if you drafted like Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce in the first round, that's pretty much you pretty much won your matchup. That's it. Like that, or Jonathan Taylor. Like, I'm about to say that. Or like that was really. Besides that, I mean, I can't think of a stud who performed up to expectation this week. I mean, it was nuts. I mean, even something like, Kittle didn't score a touchdown. Even the guys who like did well didn't score like a lot of points. Like I think, Josh Allen didn't score a ton of points. It was just nuts, but we got a lot to get to. So let's get right into it. Let's just quickly go through the Monday Night Football slate. I know a lot of you listening, obviously, if you're listening after Monday, you can fast forward. We'll talk about the Tuesday slate next, then waivers. So, check the timestamps in the description if you need to know exactly where to jump to. But Sean, we got the Minnesota Vikings going to Chicago. I think that it's going to be tough for Chicago to be competitive here. A lot of COVID issues, but Minnesota just seems to never play well in Chicago. It also tends to play down to the competition. Yep. So I kind of, this is kind of a weird game where I think, captain spot, I'm probably not going too fancy. I think it's Jefferson, Cook, Montgomery, Fields. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. And, Darnell Mooney is a live one in the captain slot. I think, with Allen Robinson out of the lineup, the sky's the limit with Mooney. So I think he's sneaky as well. I can't go with a guy like Komet. Jimmy Graham always steals his thunder in the red zone. So I think you got it right. I'd say those 4 guys and Mooney for me. And I don't know how you could pass up Justin Jefferson right now, especially with Adam Thielen out of the lineup. And like you said, the Vikings always play down with competition. So I don't think this will be a blowout. And, Justin Jefferson should be involved for all 4 quarters. So I do like the idea of just going with Justin Jefferson and then getting unique sort of with your flex spots.
DFS cheat codes. I mean, I guess it starts with Jakeem Grant, right? He's been kind of the guy who has shown some explosion. I think earned some more playing time regardless of, who comes back. Looks like Goodwin's going to be out again. So Grant, you can always stack Grant with the Bears defense. I think both defenses are live in this game. Anyone else that you're looking at?
No, I think Jakeem Grant is, a really sharp play. Like I said, Komet might be, kind of sneaky for his target upside, but Jimmy Graham, the key to these showdown slates has been the second tight end. Right. We're looking for, touchdown upside, and Jesse James is out due to COVID. So Jimmy Graham might actually see a couple catches here outside of his 1 touchdown. So I think Jimmy Graham is sneaky as well. I also like Tyler Conklin to bounce back this week. He got 2 receptions for 20 yards last week, but he typically hasn't had 2 bad games in a row. So I think with Adam Thielen out, they could switch over to Tyler Conklin. It seems like he and KJ Osborne kind of like rotate week in and week out. So I think this is Conklin's turn. So I'll probably have quite a few shares of Conklin as well.
Yeah, and I guess we can't let a Monday night slate go without mentioning a fullback. So
I know where
CJ
this is
Ham,
going. Yes.
CJ Ham, might just get that little play action. You never know. It might be enough to win a slate. And I get one other guy I should mention as we record this. Thielen's not ruled out. Looks like Dede Westbrook did not come off the COVID list though, right?
I think Smith-Marsette is
Smith-Marsette. That's the guy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the guy I was kind of getting at. He would, if Thielen is out, Smith-Marsette all of a sudden becomes the third receiver. Now that also could just mean more snaps for Herndon, more snaps for CJ Ham. So I guess those guys, you're filling out your lineup. You just kind of make a bunch of multiple lineups to throw in tournaments. You want to get those guys in, but Smith-Marsette is a guy who, starts as a number 3 receiver and would be an injury away from being the number 2 in game. So he's somebody I wanted to mention. All right, let's jump to the Tuesday slate. At least we got two games here. Always got to love some Tuesday football. We got the Rams and the Seahawks. We got the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll start at quarterback. Just kind of go through some values. You can tell me if you're thinking the same, different. I think at quarterback, I'm paying up with Matthew Stafford here, 6,700. It just seems like he has the most weapons that are going to be available to him. And I don't know how good I feel about starting like a random Washington quarterback, whoever it might be, for value. Russell Wilson's not only like a few hundred cheaper. So I'm still rolling with Stafford here.
Yeah, similar, just because there's so many stacking options. Like I love, just kind of rolling with a ton of Stafford lineups and then just mixing and matching with, Kupp, Van Jefferson, Odell Beckham, and Kendall Blanton. But you kind of jinxed it already. Just by saying that, we know that Garrett Gilbert is going to break the slate. So I think it is worth just having at least one Garrett Gilbert flyer if he does play. XFL legend, that is, in Garrett Gilbert. But yeah, what a mess this slate is in general. And Jalen Hurts, I think his ceiling is going to be capped if the football team, ends up having to rule out a ton of players on offense and defense. That's going to hurt upside. Try saying that 10 times fast, Jesus. And I think, you can make a case for Russell Wilson too. I think that's probably going to be the game to stack. So yeah, Stafford and Wilson for me.
Yeah, I don't mind some Hurts, but I do agree. I think the floor is super low. But at the same time, Washington might have like no defenders. Although some of their defensive line is getting a little healthier, even though everyone else is going on the COVID list. So it's touch and go, but they just might have so many guys. It's such a their whole
we might see one of those
cluster.
Yeah, we might see one of those games where like Howard, Gainwell, and Sanders all rush for over 100 yards, or maybe Boston Scott. That's kind of a discussion for the next position. But like any one of those 4 packs could go off here, just because, like you said, this game could get out of control.
Yeah, running back. I'm looking at both of those guys in the Rams game again. Rams Seahawks. Sony Michel at 5,800.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's still going to be the lead back. You and I talked about this. We're kind of hearing some rumors that McVay wants to kind of switch it to Michel, especially in the run game. Henderson a little bit more of the passing down back, and kind of split it that way. And then Rashad Penny, 5,400. Seahawks having some COVID issues at running back. I just think he's going to get the chance to run the ball, probably 80% of the carries or something like that. And then it's just going to be a matter of, how close and for how long can the Seahawks keep it. The Rams will kind of give you the run most weeks. So those are the two guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I love the Michel call. And, that was before Henderson missed these past couple of games. It seemed like McVay was kind of hinting that he wanted to just switch to Michel because, he keeps game planning for Darrell Henderson, then he gets banged up, has to leave early. So he just kind of wants a more sturdy running back. So I felt that Michel was a dark horse to become the starting running back the rest of the season. So especially after the past 2 weeks, just because Henderson's back doesn't mean I'm downgrading Michel that much. So love the Michel call. I'm sticking with my boy Antonio Gibson here. It's a pretty dicey running back slate, to be honest. He's the only really true workhorse on this slate. Now his rushing upside could be limited due to the negative game script potentially. But with no JD McKissick, he should see a ton of, receiving usage. So that's where I think Gibson's ceiling is in this matchup. So just with the shaky slate, I don't mind spending up to get Gibson at 6,800.
Yeah. And it sounds like Miles Sanders should be back. Jordan Howard should be back. But Sanders has gotten a decent workload. He still hasn't scored a touchdown, but He's been money down the stretch. If these last few seasons, if you've gotten to the playoffs and you've done it with Miles Sanders on your team, you may remember, every year that near the end of the year, he tends to go off. So last game, 24 carries, 120 yards, 3 catches for 22. So he had 27 touches for 142 yards in that last game, before the bye. So I wouldn't discount him. I know the backfield is crowded, but Sanders is a guy who, this year, 5.2 yards per attempt, last year, 5.3. So, and career 5.0. He's a guy that could be efficient, even if he's not getting, 15, 18, 20 carries, but he just might because the Eagles are so run heavy. So like him as well. All right, let's go to receiver. You mentioned them already. Van Jefferson, Odell Beckham. I think those guys are just underpriced here. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is a guy that, with cash games, tournaments, whatever, he should get his 8-9 catches and 100 yards and probably a touchdown. But Jefferson and Beckham are the guys that stand out. Cam Sims got taken off the COVID list. I think he's interesting because he leads Washington in yards per route versus zone coverage, and Philly tends to play a lot of zone coverage. So Sims had a good game against the Cowboys. He's off the COVID list. I don't know if he gets, he was kind of up there above Carter, above all those other guys, Diami Brown, as that number 2 receiver in the last game. So it's possible that he, does that again after he had a good game. So maybe not, because I don't know how much practice he got in, given that he just came off the list, but he does lead them in yards per route. So he kind of stood out to me. What about you?
Yeah, I think, Odell Beckham at 4,900. I'm not sure why he's this cheap, to be honest. He's running her out over 90% of the time now in this offense. He's only going to get better in this offense as the season goes on. So love him here. And then like on the Seattle side, assuming Tyler Lockett's out, I think D Eskridge could be sneaky. He's like 3,300 right now. So he's one of those guys. He has pretty low upside. Like he's a guy that can get 5 catches and go for 20 yards. But I do kind of like him on a site like this. So I'll probably have some flyers of D Eskridge and maybe Freddie Swain, but it seems like they want to get Eskridge involved. So I think Eskridge is the one of those two that I'll be targeting here.
Yeah, Eskridge is the more like explosive player, but Swain is he has like Russell Wilson's trust, and every game he's run more routes than Eskridge. So especially
in the red zone, like
right.
You mentioned that Wilson trusts him a little bit too much in the end zone, but that's good for Swain at least.
Yeah, I mean, he's worth on a slate like this. You definitely worth mentioning. Tight end. You mentioned him already. Kendall Blanton doesn't look like Tyler Higbee's coming off the COVID list, so Blanton's mid-priced. Should be out there a decent amount. He's maintained that number 2 tight end job, which makes him the number 1 over Bryson Hopkins. So Hopkins, I believe, did get taken off the COVID list, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta double check.
Yeah, they're both off. Or
okay,
not both off, but one. Right. Yes,
one's not on, one's off, and the starter's
both on. Available.
Right. So Blanton, last game 73% routes per drop back. Hopkins 18%. So anytime you're getting 2/3 or more for a min price guy, I mean, it might still result in a bagel, but in a tournament you could catch a touchdown. Could be one of those situations where maybe the game script doesn't go how they expect, and they're just kind of dumping it off in the zone to him. So really do like him at 2,500.
Yeah, I like him as well. And I think a interesting pivot there would be John Bates at 2,800. Ricky Seals-Jones is questionable with an illness. Considering they have COVID going around, I wonder if he's going to be able to play tomorrow. So if he's ruled out, Bates is going to be really compelling at 2,800. We've seen the football team likes leaning on just one tight end, and they trust Bates now. Could be a negative game script where a guy like Garrett Gilbert is just dumping it off to Bates. So Blanton and Bates could be in play tomorrow.
Yeah, and Bates in the last game ran around on 64% of the dropbacks. Seals-Jones 40%. So I know Seals-Jones was coming back from an injury, but Bates maintained that lead role there. So good call on that one. All right, now let's get into our Week 16 waivers. Joining us for our Week 16 waiver segment, Samantha Previte from the Action Network. Samantha, what is going on and how did you navigate this crazy week 15?
It was such a roller coaster because I had Travis Kelce to start off the week. So I'm thinking like, I'm awesome and I'm totally going to win. And then it like jumps to like, I had all these guys go down, like Chris Godwin was on my team. Chase Claypool, who was just absolutely awful. All these things like went wrong. So now we're all back to like a projected, basically like 1 point difference between us. So it's been quite the roller coaster in one of my leagues, but we shall see how it plays out over the next couple of days.
Chase Claypool has my all-time favorite receiving line that I've ever seen in an NFL box score. Chase Claypool has 2 targets, 0 catches, 12 yards.
Yep.
Because of the reverse. It was like a flip back, and then he ended with the ball in like a series of like flips. So like they're doing something weird in the NFL box scores now, where like on those type of plays, the final guy who touches the ball gets credit for receiving yards, but not a reception. It's very weird.
Well, just know that I benched Amon-Ra St. Brown for Chase Claypool, as most people probably would have in that matchup, and just disappointing.
Yeah, that is rough. Amon St. Brown, though, you said it, Samantha. We liked him preseason. He's coming on strong down the stretch, and we'll talk about him actually. So let me save that. Put a pin in that because we'll talk about him when we get to receivers. Let's go right in the quarterbacks. Sean, I'll start with you. Week 16, maybe if you survived week 15 or you had a bye, but you need a quarterback. 2 guys stand out for me that are under 50% rostered. Cam Newton against the Bucks at 22%. And Justin Fields at Seattle at 26%. Their quarterbacks 14 and 15, respectively, in my early week 16 rankings.
Out of those 2, I'm going with Justin Fields. We'll see how tonight goes if he escapes that injury, but I think he has the better floor ceiling combo. We don't have to worry about him getting benched in game. I just can't imagine going into a semifinals match and relying on Cam Newton in a must-win fantasy game. Just his floor is in the basement. Granted, he has, QB1 overall upside. So I recommend, like, if you're a huge underdog and you're just desperate, then you want to tap into Cam Newton's upside. But if you're just, in an even matchup or the favorite even, you don't want to rely on Cam Newton just because his floor is too low. So it's Justin Fields for me.
Samantha, what do you think?
Of those 2, I definitely say Justin Fields. Any interest in Tyler Huntley if we don't see Lamar Jackson again, because he is widely available, 4% rostered, and is the QB1 right now heading into Monday night with 4 games left to play. So I think he could be interesting if it looks like Jackson's bone bruised ankle is not going to be good in time. Just like the rushing has been really great. I had Jared Goff also on this list, but Goff is now on the COVID list, more of a desperation play, but it's against the Falcons. So I don't know, could be interesting. And then I've got Tua and Jimmy G. Those are 2 guys that I just like had as people that you could target for really the rest of the playoffs because they have such soft schedules. Tua is playing the Saints and Jimmy G has the Titans. They both kind of disappointed last week, but so did pretty much every quarterback. So they're both I think QB8 and QB10 right now. So it was bad, but not that bad in comparison to everyone else.
Love the Huntley call. I mean, I don't have him written down because I kind of assumed Jackson was going to be back because he was sounded like a close call last week. But if he's not back, I would pick up Huntley just as if you have the spot just as a speculative ad, because he should be available almost guaranteed in your league. Playing the Bengals in what should be a close game. I think his rushing upside could change the slate, and that's why, Newton and Fields, the other guys I mentioned. Tua, I'm a little bit scared of. I mean, the Saints played amazing defense against Tom Brady. Granted, all his receivers went down, but after seeing Tua throw that pick 6 against the Jets in his own, coming out of his own end zone, he worries me. I don't know. Sean, what do you think about Tua Tagovailoa this week?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm a little bit nervous on him. He's kind of in that, QB2 range. All those guys are the same to me. That's why I agree with Samantha on the Tyler Huntley call. I'm like you, Raybon. Right now I'm projecting Lamar Jackson in, but I think I'd have Tyler Huntley as a low-end QB1.
Yeah.
If we knew he was starting, because, they're able to run the same exact offense. They still have Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews in there. So he's able to put up similar stats to Lamar Jackson. It's not like they're having to put in a Joe Flacco and change up the entire offense. So love the Huntley call. And he plays early enough on Saturday where if he doesn't start, you can have some backup plans. If you were playing like, Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, I would just say forget about it. But he plays early enough. I think you could just plan on having him as like a, initial plan and then have a backup option just in case Lamar starts. But love the Huntley call.
Yeah, and like Jimmy G a decent amount too. But the only thing is they play Thursday, so I try to avoid like those early waiver guys if I can, just because like things value might open up throughout the week, things like that. So I do like Jimmy G. He's kind of the next up after those rushing quarterbacks.
The thing with Tua is maybe I think he'll be better if he gets Jalen Waddle back next week. It did feel like he looked a little lost without Waddle.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He's been playing good football. Now I will say that. And the Dolphins, I mean, I'd be surprised if they lose that game. They're 3-point underdogs, but it's another spot. The Saints won by scoring 9 points. The Dolphins should be able to score more than 9 points. So Tua could have some success. All right, let's get into running back. Got to start it off with Craig Reynolds. Although now we're Sean, did you just say you were seeing something about him?
He got signed. He got signed to the team. I didn't see the rest of that tweet. No, it's good news for him. It was Jared Goff is placed on the COVID list. Craig Reynolds something. And it got signed to the active team. So he's not on the practice squad anymore.
Okay. I was like, well, all right. So I do have some bad news on Craig Reynolds, but it might not be that bad. Jamal Williams was activated from the COVID list. Yeah. The way Reynolds has been playing and the way Williams was kind of like a afterthought when DeAndre Swift was rolling, you could see Reynolds maintain this workload and Williams just slot right back into his number 2 role. And so they can like stop giving Godwin, Igwebuike, carries that he will fumble away. They obviously hate Justin Jefferson. So I think Reynolds 13% playing well enough. I think he should be rostered. Samantha, what do you think about Reynolds? Is he your number 1 or is it Ronald Jones? Looks like Fournette may be out for this week.
I would probably say it's Ronald Jones. Leonard Fournette seems like he is day to day or week to week possibly, but the initial thing was that they thought he was going to miss a couple games. So avoid IR, but maybe miss a couple games, which really puts us right out of the playoffs. So Rojo is 34% rostered. Gets the Panthers next and then the Jets. So it's a kind of mixed schedule there. But I think just based on volume and situation, he should definitely be in consideration for the top waiver ad. Giovanni Bernard's still on IR, so I don't know who they have left if we would want to talk about Keyshawn Vaughn again. And then Justin Jackson, I think, is an interesting ad at 5% rostered. So he did split carries with Austin Eckler last week, and Eckler just ended up on the COVID-19 reserve list. Now, don't know if he's vaccinated. He has a chance to return in time for this game, but if he ends up not returning, I think that Justin Jackson would be a really nice play.
Sean, where are you going for your number 1 priority? Jones, Reynolds, Jackson, somebody else?
None of these guys.
Okay.
Samaje Perine for me. Joe Mixon, hurt his ankle at the end of the game. It did not look good. And Zach Taylor just confirmed it's an ankle sprain. We don't know if it's high or low, but it's possible that Mixon misses this week and beyond. I mean, it's Monday morning, so I'm speculating here, but Perine would at least be, rock solid RB2 if Mixon were to miss time. So that's why I'm going with Perine. These other guys, like Craig Reynolds, he does have the upside right now to concern like a low end RB2, RB3. But the return of Jamal Williams does scare me. And also DeAndre Swift is returning to practice. I think they still might shut him down and just say, we'll see you next year. But, if he returns this week, that's going to make it murky, of course, for Reynolds. So that's why I'm not as high on him. And Ronald Jones, like Samantha said, Leonard Fournette's more day to day. So I don't know if Ronald Jones is going to get to start. But right now it looks like Perine is the most likely out of these backs to get a spot start. So I like him. But yeah, if Austin Eckler is ruled out due to COVID, Justin Jackson gets to face the Texans. So he'll be a high end RB2 as well. So I think it's Jackson and Perine for me.
Yeah. I'd probably go Jackson. No, I'd probably go Well, it's tough because we're recording this Monday. It looks like you said, literally 3 minutes ago, I'm seeing a tweet, as we record this, that Mixon suffered an ankle sprain. So yeah, Pirine was a guy I didn't have written down. Shouts to the Bengals for covering that spread against the Broncos. Mixon had just a rough game. I mean, I don't know if y'all got to see it, but it was like he was just getting nowhere on all of his carries, and then he would go to the sideline like pissed off, and then he finally comes back in the game with a chance to like ice it on the final drive, and just gets like his ankle driven into the ground and has to come out again. Just like a rough go for Mixon. So yeah, Pirine, tough matchup. Ravens, I believe, entered this week top 5 in DVOA against the run, but we still saw Jones and Dillon combined for a pretty decent stat line. I think Pirine would get all of the workload. The Chargers, it always worries me a little bit. Like if Eckler's out, like all of a sudden Larry Roundtree could lead them. So like, you know what I mean?
We already
like,
know that's going to happen.
Darius Bradwell will be active and get like 5 carries. So I think it's Pirine. I think I'd go Jones 2 because number one, the way the Bucs are kind of in control, but just reeling. So I could see like the running game just being a huge part of the game plan, period. Like if Evans and Godwin and all these guys are out, I know Brown's coming back, but like they could go back to like that 2-headed rushing attack. They have a good offensive line. Carolina, is a run funnel defense. So I think I would still add Jones as my number 2 guy. Then Reynolds. Some other guys I'll mention, Samantha. Rex Burkhead, 10% rostered against the Chargers. The Chargers are worst run defense in the league. Burkhead keeps getting 15 carries for like 20 yards. Then you got Duke Johnson. I just think I think he might still get carries, but that scares me. And that's a kind of a case for Tua, is that the Saints are number 1 against the run. So I don't know if it's going to be the same type of game for Duke. And then Latavius Murray, he kind of out of nowhere came back in the fold over Freeman. Do any of those guys interest you, or are you looking at them at all? Or are you just leaving them on the wire?
I guess they're all kind of in that same range of like, if you really just need a warm body in that spot. I don't know how Duke Johnson, that whole thing is going to play out. They did sign him to the active roster. So I guess like maybe he will be a thing. That's very disappointing for Myles Gaskin managers, I will say. As someone who has shares of Myles Gaskin, I thought he was going to have a fantastic game against the Jets. Does have a couple tougher games on the slate, though, as you mentioned. Devontae Booker, maybe another name at 22% rostered. He is kind of consistently still seeing carries. So kind of in that same group of like unexciting guys that if you just need someone. And by the way, that team that I was just complaining about having Chase Claypool and having Chris Godwin also has the running backs on that team were Joe Mixon and Ramondre Stevenson. Wow. So like, it's a miracle that I'm even still in this matchup.
It's just a brutal week. I mean, it's like, it's almost like no one can complain because everyone got hit one way or another. Mm-hmm. Like you did not escape this week without like a bunch of duds. If you did, I mean, shouts to you. I don't know how you did it, but wide receiver, mentioned him earlier, Amon-Ra St. Brown, still at 29% roster. I don't get that. Like, are people not paying attention to this guy? Probably. I know he's on the Lions, but and then there's a bunch of guys in this game. So there's St. Brown, he's at 29%. Russell Gage is 50% even. He's come on really strong because teams are just dialed in on Kyle Pitts. And Patterson's not really playing receiver anymore. And then Josh Reynolds at 10%, he's kind of, their number 1 outside receiver. St. Brown is, working kind of more inside, outside mix. Hawkinson's done for the year, so Reynolds will be out there. Sean, what do you think about those 3 guys, especially St. Brown and Gage? Like, how would you rank those like 1 and 2? I've had Gage above St. Brown these past few weeks. I think it's getting closer and closer, but I think I'd still kind of lean Gage. Obviously, available in fewer leagues though.
Yeah, I think they're right around the same. I think I have them both like in the wide receiver 24 range. So they're now low end wide receiver 2s. I've been kind of banging the table for them for a month now, it seems like, as being wide receiver 3s with the really high floor. They're going to get you like 4 or 5 catches each week, which is pretty valuable from your 3rd wide receiver. So now they're low end wide receiver 2. I'm with you. I don't know why they're available in so many leagues, probably because no one's paying attention, or there's just shallower leagues where you start 2 receivers. But either way, if they're out there, you got to add them. They're too good right now. This game has sneaky shootout potential as well. So I like both. And Josh Reynolds, I said this a month ago, he could be the Lions' number 1 receiver the rest of the way. I was wrong. That's St. Brown, but he's at least their number 2 receiver. And without TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift out there, there's extra targets to go around. So I think we can trust 2 pass catchers on the Lions right now in St. Brown and Reynolds. So I like Reynolds still in deeper leagues, especially this week against the Falcons.
Yeah, and the caveat being more so for Reynolds, I think, but you could apply it to St. Brown, is Jared Goff did go on a COVID list. So yeah, that could be problematic. So we should talk about, kind of the next tier. Samantha, the guy that stands out to me is Jamison Crowder at 29% rostered. He's going up against Jacksonville. The Jets are favored. Crowder ran a route on 100% every single drop back against Miami. I think Valdez-Scantling is probably in the conversation now, 41% against Cleveland. He's kind of probably that second option for Rodgers on a week-to-week basis, at least the intended second option. And then Gabriel Davis, I think people are going to look at, after the big game, but tough matchup against New England. We know how that goes. And Sanders, we don't know if he's going to be back yet too. So it's Crowder for me. How are you kind of ranking these guys?
I would probably say Gabriel Davis is the top of that group. It is a tough matchup, but he did find the end zone the last time they played, somehow in a slop fest in week 13. Yeah. So I think that's interesting. And then he gets the Falcons in the championship round. So he's a high-ish priority. In addition to some of the guys that you mentioned, maybe one of the Bucs receivers, just with Chris Godwin out for the year and Mike Evans' status kind of up in the air. I think there's a chance he misses the game. Now Antonio Brown is coming back, or intends to come back after this vaccine scandal. So I don't think that one of them is going to get a huge bump, but certainly someone that you could maybe add. And then I'll add Laquan Treadwell and Marquez Callaway. Marquez Callaway had his second best game of the year, 112 yards, and was the most targeted receiver on that team.
Yeah, it's a good call on the Bucs guys. Tyler Johnson, Brashad Perriman. I think I'd pay attention to what's going on there. One or both. If Evans is out, both of those guys may be, 80, 90% routes run kind of guys. Callaway, I think, is a really good backup plan because he plays Monday. So it's like having him on your roster just in case, you get hit with a lot of COVID issues last minute, I think makes some sense. I think the whole Saints pass game is going to be inconsistent. So it's hard to rely on him as a priority over any of these other guys. And then Westbrook-Ikhine probably be the number 1 receiver, but I think it's just too early in the week to use him. And then there's probably somebody better. Sean, out of all those kind of second, maybe even third tier guys, who stands out to you specifically with, I want to get your thoughts on Gabe Davis. Cause I think, Samantha likes him as the number, the top priority of these guys. I'm a little worried about the matchup. Or where are you on Davis?
Yeah, I'm worried about the matchup, but either way, if I said this last week, if you're going for ceiling, it's Gabe Davis all the way for me. And we saw that again, whenever he gets playing time, he usually performs. So I still like him. I think in that high upside tier, it's Gabe Davis and Marquez Valdez-Scantling for me. So they're great to have if you're an underdog or you need to come back and you want to tap into their upside. They're great for that. Whereas, you mentioned Jamison Crowder is perfect if you just need 5 or 6 points from your wide receiver 3 slot. You're going to get that from Crowder. So he's a guy I would target if you're a heavy favorite this week and you just need some help in your last slot. Go for Crowder or Westbrook-Ikhine. He's another guy that should get you a handful of points no matter what. I think AJ Brown is eligible to return this week. I don't know what's up with him, but if he can't return, then Westbrook-Ikhine seems like a lock for 8+ targets. So yeah, that's a guy we'll have to see later in the week, but I am interested in adding him as sort of a stash right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's I think I would be more interested if he played Sunday. The fact that he plays Thursday and you could get value open up, and we already mentioned 8, 9 guys that are potential ads anyway. There should be somebody that there's a good chance you get to at least replicate his value, if not surpass it. True. By waiting. So that's kind of my one gripe with Westbrook-Ikhine, and also the Titans can't throw the football anymore.
that as well.
Let's go to quickly wrap it up with tight end. there's just, I mean, maybe I'm not fully looking at this list, but the only name that sticks out that's under 50% rostered that I think could pay dividends is James O'Shaughnessy. He's at 2%. He's going against the Jets, who entered the week 32nd dead last in DVOA against tight end. Sean, what do you think? What's going on at tight end?
Yeah, I'm with you. Normally, tight end's pretty good for streaming this year, but yeah, for right now, I have James O'Shaughnessy. That's it, and he's sort of in that old Dan Arnold role, which was the old James O'Shaughnessy role.
Right.
So the Jaguars are kind of like the football team. They just want to send one tight out there to run all the routes and forget about it. So he's going to get you 4 catches for 40 yards every game. Probably not a touchdown though. So that's the only knock on him is he lacks that upside, but certainly, when you're streaming tight end, most of the time you just want to get some points, and O'Shaughnessy should get you some points. So because of that, he's probably the top streamer play this week. But yeah, it's pretty bare out there.
Samantha, anyone else besides O'Shaughnessy?
He is the only name that made it into the waiver column this week. I had 7 wide receivers and 4 or 5 quarterbacks and 1 tight end. So yeah, I mean, he's kind of the only guy. It's like everyone on this team can succeed except for Laviska Shenault. So that just leaves me a little salty.
How about sorry, Ray, but this is a guy you brought up before, but Zach Gentry, if Freiermuth is out, is he a guy you're interested in? Because you talk about, whenever there's a showdown slate with the Steelers, you mention him. So I'm just going to give you the floor on this.
I mean, I'm looking forward to Gentry potentially, getting the lion's share of the workload, and don't sleep on my guy, Kevin Rader. I think he could play a role there. But no, I don't. I'm not interested in Zach Gentry. Nah. Listen, man, I've bet the Steelers so many times this year, and I've won a lot of those bets. And every time I win, I want to go throw up because this team can't protect. They can't. Roethlisberger can't move. No one gets open except Deontay Johnson. It's just the fact that Freiermuth was so productive is a testament to his talent. It's not a profitable role to be a Pittsburgh pass catcher, unless your name is Deontay Johnson. So, it's tough. But O'Shaughnessy is in 98% of y'all listening. O'Shaughnessy should be on your waiver wire. So go pick him up, hold your nose, hope for the best. And that's all I got to say about that. Samantha, thank you so much again for joining us. Tell the people what you're up to and where you're at.
Yeah, I guess this is my last Fantasy Flex appearance for the season, or maybe next week. I'm not sure.
There's still some season left. We got Fantasy Championship next week. What are you?
Yeah,
check it out early on us
next week.
Oh man,
I think I have that day off, unfortunately. But so this might be my last time. But and 21 questions and a mailbag has wrapped up. But all of my writing is still there. Still doing the waiver wire, still doing start sit, still doing various COVID related. I did a series of COVID related pieces, kind of what to do with certain teams, which was really cool that I filed them. In 5 minutes later, the Browns game gets moved. So, I mean, it's a chaotic week. So I guess just check it out on actionnetwork.com. While I still have you guys here, I have a very important fantasy question. Should I start Russell Wilson or Justin Fields?
I got Russ still ranked above Fields. It's closer than it should be though. Sean, what about you?
Yeah, same. I'd go Wilson. I'm assuming that Lockett's out as well. So yeah, I'd say Wilson still. Barely the better play.
I think QB 13 or 14 and Field is my 15 or 16, I believe it is. So
and they're separated by 0.2 points, correct?
Right. Yeah. It's just Russell. It's the Rams game could just be higher scoring, I guess.
How many points do you need? What's the situation?
It's kind of a messy situation because it's one of those IDP leagues where I have 800 people starting, but we are currently tied in points, and I have more players though to go. So I think I am now the live projection is that I'm going to win, but just want to make smart decisions. Of course, this league is weird because you lose points for passing attempts. It's some kind of efficiency thing. Same thing with rushing attempts and everything.
Sounds like it's better suited for Russ then.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just be glad you didn't have Tom Brady.
Oh my God. I bet Tom Brady had like all sorts of negative, like that. This league is very weird like that you can get, I got like 50 points from Mark Andrews this week, but you can also get like negative 20 points from a player.
Sheesh. I mean, yeah, it's it just, if you got this far, I mean, congratulations, to everybody out there. We're all going through it. We're just trying to get through it. Keep listening to the episodes. We'll keep trying to talk you guys through it. We're going to do the main Slate episode, the Wednesday episode, a little bit later than usual, just to try to get you guys the most updated information. So stay tuned for that, but we'll definitely have you guys covered. You can find Samantha on Twitter at Samantha NFL. You can find Sean at @_oddsmaker, and you can find me at Chris Raybon. Be sure to check out actionnetwork.com for our fantasy football content, rankings, projections, and fantasylabs.com for our DFS content, tools, and models. Until next time, let's get this money.